All right, let me share something with you. This one's going to be long. So grab your tea. Let's sit down and chat. I am going to go through every single class that I have taken on my long road through, and we're going to sit and talk about it because I think that there is something important, and I wish that someone had did this for me. Maybe you might be interested in my thoughts on a particular class. So I'm just ready to break this journey down. So again, this might be a long one. I'm going to make sure that there are chapters that are put here because this is a time commitment. It's a time commitment for me, but it's also a time commitment for you to sit down and kind of go over where things are. So if you are just coming upon any of my videos, my name is Giovanni. I am a senior at SNHU. I have been going to SNHU for well over 1,800 days. So I can speak to you about dedication and I can speak to you about things, but what I want to share with you is what has worked for me. And what has worked for me may be useful for you. So I started my career as a student years ago. So there's military school. I went to a school called ECPI. I have gone to Full Sail. I have gone to Bryan University. I've gone to DeVry University. Life has happened. I have moved several times. I have lived in Virginia. I have lived in Hawaii. I have lived in the Middle East. I have lived in Illinois. I've lived in Minnesota. I've lived in Wisconsin. So life has happened, work has happened, money has happened. And eventually I found myself at Southern New Hampshire University, trying once again to finish what I have started so many years ago. And today I wanted to share that story with you. So if you're like me, I think one of the most surprising things when I took a look at my degree audit, because you have to submit an audit when you're getting ready to graduate. A registrar has to go through and make sure that you have passed all of the classes that are required and you get an audit. So I wanted to see how much of my life is represented in like a single piece of paper. And we're not talking like a resume. We're talking like smart transcripts. So if you don't know what a smart transcript is, that is the military's equivalent to the courses that you take. They evaluate that into the civilian world, and it is called a smart transcript. So you have smart military credits. After that, going to ECPI, which was my very first college I ever went to out of the military. Then after that, deciding to go to Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida. After that, going to Bryan University and then, dabbling in DeVry. I, as a young man, struggled to complete things. I had completed time through the military because you had to sign a contract. So being able to complete something that I started, part of that journey was my military career and going to school. So I've had a couple of different career paths too. So my career paths have not just focused in on just school. So I've been in the military. I have been in healthcare. I was in healthcare for 10 years. After leaving healthcare, I decided to go into customer success. And that was when people were just starting to purchase cars online. So I worked as a business development manager. They didn't even call him that at the time. I was just contacting people to get them to come into a showroom to talk to salespeople. I was good at computers, so I got a job. After my military service, I went and worked for a internet company, and I was the customer contact, working for the customer service team. So this degree, though, having been 5 or 6 years in completion, this degree has really taken me 20 years to complete. So one of the first classes that I ever took and you will take at SNHU is SCS 100. It is Perspectives in Social Sciences. This was the first class where I had to relearn how to be a student. I remember that class so well because I remember that this was the first time you realize that you're an actual student because there's homework that has to be turned in. And I remember this instructor being very, because it was the first class that you go to, I think the instructor was just kind of making sure that people felt welcome at SNHU. So she spent a lot of time making sure that, we read the syllabus and read the reading materials. And, it was just a very engaging, like people were excited to be back in school. So everybody was coming to the discussion boards and having these conversations. I used to get up at night, and if somebody responded to one of my discussion posts, I would write back to them. It was very think 1990s YouTube. Like that's the way it felt. I just really loved that class. The next class after that was English composition 2. This is where you remember very quickly that a writing skill and not like developing a writing skill is not really something that you can fake your way through. Like that's the first time you start to realize like where you are struggling with writing. And so if you're not a very good writer, this will be the first struggle that you have. So this is not give up time. This is the first part of your journey. So think like you just walked away from the house. We'll use the metaphor as of the house. So this is kind of the first segment. You just left the house going on a trip. So I got an A in that class. So I got an A in SCS 100. And I remember I was on my way. I was doing really well. Then I hit IT 140. I remember that class too, because that's introduction to scripting. So as you start doing this introduction to scripting, this class humbled me. So IT 140, if you are taking that class or starting that class, you will be humbled very quickly because it's the first class that if you're going into technology and you don't know how to script, you don't even understand the formalities of how to put together a script, this will humble you. You will learn. Okay. So you're going to learn logic. You're going to learn Python. You're going to learn how to debug. You're going to realize computers do exactly what you tell them to do. This was the first kind of class, and I thought I was going to get an A in that class. I actually got a B plus in that class. It was a really good class. It was a lot of like work, and I wasn't ready yet. I didn't have a system built. I had just left the house, so keep that in mind. Okay, just left the house. Let's talk about the next part. So, the next part of this is kind of working on you as an IT professional. That's how they kind of balance your stuff back and forth at SNHU. Is like right now you did, hey, welcome back to school. Okay, now you're a student. And then now it's like, hey, we're going to work on deepening your IT skills. So, I work in IT. So, I thought, hey, I'm going to do really well here. IT 200. So that is Fundamentals of Information Technology, the easiest course you are going to take. It's just a really fundamental class. Don't sweat this class. Please don't. Not worth it. You can quickly get an A in that class. IT 202. Computer operating systems. Okay, so computer operating systems, if you don't know what an operating system is, then you will struggle trying to understand what an OS is and how an OS in a computer works. Okay, Windows stopped being something I used to. Let me say it this way. I am a Mac person. So this was the first time that I really had to work really deeply inside of the PC side of things. Even at work, I use both systems, but this was the first time that I had to really understand how people fundamentally used their systems. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I got an A in that class, the bane of my existence, this next class. Even to see the name, I just remember going, introduction. So IT 212, introduction to computer networks. Now, for those of my network people that are out there going, networks are so easy. They're the backbone of the systems. I get it. I'm not a networking guy. Okay. I didn't want to become a networking guy. I just wanted to take the class and get it finished so that I can move on. And I knew I needed to do that because in order to protect something, you have to know how it flows. I went back to my healthcare background and understood networks are just like veins and arteries in the body. And I said, okay, we will put this together in the metaphor of the body and understand what is the heart, what is the brain, so forth, so on. Pass that class. I encourage you, if you're like, you know what networks are, you know what? We're gonna clap it up for you because this will be your jam. This is going to be your jam, and you got another course a little bit later on when you get up into the 200-300 levels. But the 100 levels, this will be your jam. Okay. Next class is more of a communication class. So remember, you've had one writing class and now you're in IT 226. That is communication in STEM professionals. Okay. That class is, of all of the classes that you're going to take, in my opinion, this is going to be the most important class of your entire degree, because this is going to teach you the beginnings of writing, communication, how do you document, and exploring technical concepts. So it's going to have you go learn about a technical concept and then be able to explain it. Because being able to say, this is why this is not connecting to this power source is one thing, but having to talk to a CEO who has no idea what a power source is a totally different thing. That's what this class will teach you. This class will humble you that if it is not written down, it does not exist. So let's move on. Now you're going to transition into like the cybersecurity side. So if you're here for the cybersecurity stuff and to kind of figure out what you're going to be up against, listen up, buckle in, because this is the part where we really got to talk about 200 level courses. Now you are in your sophomore year. Okay. So it is no more, you should have a system built, how you do your discussions, how you put in your contacts, all of that should be clear for you now. If it is not clear for you, this is the time to establish all of that. So what I did is this. I developed my discussions were due on Thursday. So every Wednesday, I would make sure those discussions got done. That is not optional, period. Okay. And your work that you need to get done is due by Sunday. Now, you can wait until Sunday to do it all on Sunday, or you can spread it out. That's up to you. I'll let you develop your own system. Me, I did most of mine on Friday and then knocked the last of it out on Saturday. Done. Okay. So Sunday, I could take my Sundays off and record these podcasts and put the things out there for those of you that are following and learn along in the journey, the cybersecurity side of things. Okay. So cyber nerds, let's dig in. CYB 200, this is your first cybersecurity course. Now you feel like you are becoming a cyber person, right? This is where cybersecurity is going to become more of a buzzword. So all of a sudden, you're going to start feeling like somebody who's learning cyber, because you're going to be introduced to like the fundamentals and the language that's used, and kind of you're just going to get your feet wet. So think we have now got to the beach after leaving the house. We're at the beach. You're now walking onto the sand. All right. Your next course, though, make sure you got the draw zone, because let me tell you, CYB 210, back to networking. So if networking caught you in the 100 levels, it's going to catch you in the 200 levels too. All right. Now, here is where things changed for me. Up until this point, I have been running A-level work. Okay. A-level work. I got really sick at this point with COVID and fell deeply behind in my coursework. So I almost didn't pass this class, okay? And not only was I was sick with like long COVID and really having a really tough time with school. I earned a D in this class. I want you to understand, just because you get a D does not mean that you don't understand. You getting a D after taking the class 3 times, you're not even trying. But you getting a D while going through COVID and being at that time really ill didn't stop me, and I don't want it to stop you. I just want you to understand that you can come back from there. So I did come back. I got a D in that course, and I said, okay, I'm going to keep going. Next class, guess what? Networking again. Yep, CYB 220. So you're going back to networking. Now you're doing network security. So you're going out to servers to figure out, looking at logs. What happened in this server? Did somebody get into the server? Is somebody trying to access this server at a time when they shouldn't be accessing it? The things like that. This class, you won't really have, by the time you get to this point, after you do that networking class, because that 210 class, you're going to rock through that 210 class. And then if you don't and you take it the second time, it'll be easy for you. But the 220, 250, and 260, they all come right behind each other. So you got network security is 220, CYB 250 is cyber defense. That's a great class. That's a really fun class. And I was actually traveling for work during this class. So I can tell you that having to go be part of an event all night and then come home from that event and in a hotel room and then spending my time going through and reading things that had to do with defending and then knowing that I had to be right back up at 4 o'clock in the morning because I had to be at work at 6, I know what that's like. So speaking to that, the next class, which is CYB 260, that is a legal and human factors of cybersecurity course. That, you know what? That class, that was a class that really proved to me that the D that I made back when I was doing CYB 120 meant nothing. Because by the time I got to that humans factors class in cybersecurity, I was ready. And to be honest with you, I was pissed because I kept thinking that if I got a D, I took the D personally. And the D wasn't about Giovanni, the person. The D was about the work that I was turning in. And I didn't understand that at the time as a student. I'm better now, but I was not at the time. So we've made it to the beach, took our shoes off, and we are looking at the water. Okay, we are going to get ready to go onto a pier because now things are starting to get a little interesting because guess what? You're at your junior level, bro. At this point right now, you're getting ready to shift from like your cyber side of things, your CYB side of things. Now you're getting ready to go into like systems thinking. And for somebody like me, it was pretty easy because this is just how this is my flow. This is my jam. I love systems. I love how things are put together and understanding how they get put together. So when they break, you understand how they were put together. That's so essential to me. So IT 304, that is the first one you're going to kind of get into your systems thinking. That is systems requirements and implementation planning. It is a lot of Gantt chart work and you putting together how you're going to do project management. So if you're not a project manager, I completely understand that. But if you're a person like you can't plan how you're going to get out of the door on time, you're going to learn at this point because how are you going to take care of somebody's network in an enterprise level when you can't even get yourself together out the door? Like, think about that for a minute. Like companies want people that can come in and bring value when they come in the door. So in that, this is the kind of the beginning of that. Don't sweat it though. Don't panic. You'll make it through it. But remember, you're a junior now. There are seniors that are right in front of you, and there are freshmen and sophomores that are behind you that are going to start questioning if you put your content out there. People are going to start reaching out to you because you're ahead of them in the journey. So the next one that you have that I think I liked it. To be honest with you, I love the class. It is Q as in quiet, SO 340. That is project management. I got an A in this course. This was less about technology and more about getting people to go in the same direction. So this was teaching you that think for an example, if you are a cybersecurity professional and you're having to let people know that they can no longer bring in their own devices onto the network, how exactly would you get the buy-in from different departments to support that? That's the first time you're going to arrive at that thinking. Remember, this is the systems thinking part, and it's important. After that, you're going to, I think a course that kind of lays into this really well is IT 313, which is risk management and mitigation. That's the class that's like real world cybersecurity. You're pulling from a lot of things that are happening in real world, and you have to present that both to the class and to your instructor. Following that, you're going to have IT 337. Now, IT 337 is user-centered systems design. This class was a bit different for me because it looked at technology from a very different perspective. You're looking at things from like adults and like teenagers and it was just a very abstract class in my opinion. So it was really good I think the instructor was like had her master's or her doctorate in like human systems design, and it was just like it was a class that made you stretch. It really did. And then that kind of brings you to where we are now. By the way, all of those classes that I just gave you in like the systems side of things, the IT 304, the QSO 340, all of those classes, I got an A. Okay. I was able to sustain an A. And then we're kind of at the end of this. And technology and society, that's IDS 403. So this is, you have made it. We've made it to the beach. We have laid out our shade. We've got our towel on the ground, our cooler. If you're an adult beverage guy like me, you've got your adult beverage ready to go. You are at the beach, sunglasses on. This particular class, ID 2403, that class forced me to think bigger than technology. That is really what I can say, is that it helps to extend your systems thinking because it forces you to do that. So my current class that I'm in right now is IT 409. That is Impact of Systems and Organization, and we are in week 8. So we are at the end of IT 409, and I will have an A in that class as well. Following that, I will do IT 423, which is Computing as a Service. So once I get done with that class, then I will go on to what will be my very last class. That is IT 482, which is IT Operations and Systems Planning. Because at this point, you have gone through all of the things that are required to come here and present IT operations and systems and to be in charge of that. So long journey. When I started this journey, I didn't really know if I would ever finish. And to be honest with you, I don't think I went through it to know that I was going to finish. I didn't keep looking at the finish line. I just knew if I kept doing the system, the finish line would appear. So I didn't have to keep looking at it. There were periods where I couldn't afford to go to school, but I still paid. Periods where I wished I hadn't enrolled because I had so much going on in my life. Periods where I thought maybe this wasn't for me because I had made a change. And what you didn't know, and if you've stayed this far into things and listened to it, here's a little bonus for you. I didn't always start off as an information systems major. When I came into SNHU, my very first path that I was going along was in development. I was going to go to school for computer science. And I started going down that route and didn't like it. Made a change from that and looked at data science. Started going through some data science classes. And I was like, nope, this isn't for me either. And finally landed on information systems because I liked cybersecurity. And that's where I am. So my GPA right now, and as it stands, my GPA is a 3.8, and I have maintained a 3.8 throughout school. So I say all of this because I want you to understand that my GPA I am proud of, but the thing that I am proud of most is that I kept coming back. And in order for you to succeed at SNHU, you're going to need to keep coming back. And you're going to have to know that when you start the journey, just like we left from the house, we walked down the street. We got to the beach. We had to go through the sand. Before we set up our shade, put our towel down, got our cooler out, and got our adult beverage. I came back, and so will you. And finally, I have told the story that I wanted to tell years ago, and it feels surreal to sit here and share this with all of you guys, over the 1,000 of you that have joined me. Because believe it or not, when I started this channel, there wasn't 1,000 people. This was my own personal little channel where I kept all my personal little videos. And then I decided to start documenting my process. And I've learned so much. So that's it. That's my whole journey. And I'm really thankful that you allowed me to tell it. Any class that I just covered that has you frazzled, reach out to me in the comments. We have a very active community. If you don't believe me, go look at any of the videos that I've done and the comments that are there. Okay, so we have an active community. There are other people that are taking the class or taking the adjacent class to you. So send that information in the comment section. And again, thank you guys for hanging out with me and having some tea. I am done for the night and cooked, so I'm going to go chill and relax, but I'll see you in the next one.